Are you your own prisoner, bro? Are you holding yourself captive? So many of us are living our lives inside of our head without ever trying to escape. And maybe you think that sounds silly because where else are we supposed to live our life? What I'm trying to say is our true self, not our actual self. Our true ideal self is being held down by chains because we value other people's opinions so much that our true ideal person that we're supposed to be, we can never become this person because we've got them locked up. They're right up here. They're available to us whenever we want. We just have to understand and place more importance on the development of that person than the way we care about other people's opinions. Can you imagine getting to the end of your life and realizing that this person, this awesome individual that you were created to become, was this close to actually happening? But you refused to ignore the hate, the opinions of other people. We don't even know sometimes what our ideal person would look like. We can't even spend time thinking in meditation, trying to figure out an ideal lifestyle for ourselves because we're so wrapped up and consumed with living our life for other people. Man, I'm figuring this out way too late in life. And honestly, when you talk to older people, they just don't give a shit anymore. But that's how we're supposed to be now. If we can cultivate that mentality, the mentality of my opinion of myself should be supreme. Not that we're suffering from some main character syndrome or anything like that, but we are the main character in our life. We're not a non-playable character. Those are the people that are walking around, but they're the main characters in their life too. So don't get it twisted. We're living our lives for the thoughts, opinions, and well wishes of people that we think that we like, we think that we value their opinion. But once we come into a true realization that it's those people that are stopping us from unlocking the beast within. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's the truth. There truly is a sincere, authentic person that we're created to be. We're created to become. This is our ideal self, our actual self, the person that we are now in this flesh, the flesh suit, the person watching this video, that actual person and the ideal person, this gap in between. I call it the margin of despair. And in this margin of despair, that's when you sink or where you swim. And most people, they live their entire life in this in between stage where they don't really commit wholeheartedly to being the person that they know they should be. Now, what they do, they tease it a little bit. We get on these like motivational kicks, right? Where we're waking up really early in the morning. Great example of this would be that whole idea of 75 hard, which is like the stupidest thing I've ever heard of in my life, where you're waking up at a ridiculously early hour, you're working out, you're reading, you're doing all these things. You got to be in bed by like 8 p.m. in order to get like any kind of meaningful rest. But everybody that I know that's done 75 hard has just been waiting for 76 so that they could sleep in. And then especially if you see them on social media, they'll post something like, oh yeah, finally done with 75 hard. I killed it. But the whole point of 75 hard is to alter your lifestyle, not temporarily. It's supposed to be like lead to a permanent change. So if you can't consistently do the things that you're doing now, then why bother? If you know it's not going to be a lifestyle, just stop. But what we do is we tease the ideal self by getting on these rampages of motivation where we're locked in. It's January the 1st. We've told all of our friends and family, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And we're just talk because once that motivation wears off and we stop feeding our ideal self, little bits, little bits, little bits, then he goes back to just starvation mode. He goes back to fully locked down and chained somewhere in the recesses of your mind, somewhere where you're never going to be able to figure out who he is. But if you can figure out how, instead of just like this little bit, these little motivational snafus that we go through, if you can develop a system and actually develop some discipline in your process, then you'll be able to feed your ideal self a healthy diet. This healthy diet, positive thoughts, it's reading positive material, watching good stuff on YouTube. They were not all perfect, but once you put this system, once you develop this plan and put it into place, then your ideal self, this person that you're supposed to become, then they're going to get the nutrition that they need, we need each and every day in order to grow. And what you want eventually is to close the gap, the margin of despair between where you are now and your actual self. Each and every day, your process should be getting you just a little bit closer to this ideal person. And this is accomplished through your daily habits, your blueprint, each and every little thing that you do every day that's non negotiable. And these things, when you stack them, they lead into good days lead into good weeks, weeks to months, months to years. And before you know it, you have actualized your potential. That infinite mind that we have, it's much more fully developed when we are the person that we are supposed to be. Now, I can't tell you who that person is for you. That's how God created you. We're all fearfully and wonderfully made. So you have to spend some time thinking who it is that you actually want to be. What are you interested in? What are you good at? What do you like sharing with other people? You have to establish your identity first, because the actions that follow this identity have to be firmly rooted. And if you don't know exactly who it is that you are or who you want to become, then the actions are going to be out of alignment with your identity and you'll never reach your outcome. So many of us, what we do is we try to convince people of our identity by our actions. And this is actually ass backwards. We're supposed to be who we are first and have our actions follow. But in the world we live in, most of us are self conscious, myself included. So what we do is we act and we speak in such a way that makes people think we are this person, when in all reality, we're not that person at all. We might want to like fake it until we make it type of a deal. And that's more of like the law of assumption. But even then, there's nuances to this, because we talked about it before, the conscious congruency. We have thoughts, we have words, we have actions, and they need to be congruent in order for us to be aligned with our purpose. When one of these things is out of alignment, let's say for instance that we talk a big game, but we're never able to actually back it up. We tell everybody we want to get in shape, we want to lose weight, but we're never actually going to the gym, or we're going to the gym and we're wandering around willy-nilly just so we can check it off and tell people that we went to the gym. When our actions don't line up with what we tell people we're going to do, we're going to stay in a state of cognitive dissonance. And what this is the baseline for depression, it's the baseline for anxiety. Most of the problems that we have to deal with are simply a result of either our thoughts, words, or actions being out of alignment. And the easiest way to get all three of these back is to start at the beginning with what we're actually thinking. And our thoughts are rooted in who we are as people. Not only our actual self, the person we are now, but it's this person that we want to become in the future. That's where we start. Each and every day, we have to have a process that we put ourselves through, especially if we already have a solid sense of identity. The process, these actions that we do every day, are just a result of who it is we actually are. And no matter what our goal is, if we want to lose 20 pounds, if we want to get more jacked, if we want to buy a house, a car, you want to buy your mom a Lambo, I don't know. But whatever it is you want, thoughts and actions have to be aligned together, because that's the only way to produce the outcome that you want. This is even in the Bible. In Genesis 1, God tells Adam and Eve that he created them in his image. if we're created in God's image, then we are able to create just like God. Now, we're not able to create like in our own physical world, but the creative powers of our mind, the infinite possibilities that we have, we can tap into that by understanding our identity. And our identity, we've been told we're created in the image of God. So we also have the ability to create. Even God tells us, He tells us who we are, He tells us how to act, and He tells us that eventually we can have dominion if we follow that formula. And so all I'm doing right now, this is like a microcosm of God and His setup, His template for creation. We just apply it to ourselves and we can create any world that we want to create. Now, we might not be able to do it like God did it in terms of the time and the magnitude, but we know if we embrace our identity, if we develop this identity and we don't shy away from sincerity or our authentic self, what we like, what we dislike, when we embrace who it is that we are, then we're one step closer to developing the skills necessary to become our ideal self, to fulfill our potential. The worst thing in life has gotta be getting to the end of your life and knowing that you could have done more, you could have been more. This isn't about being like rich or famous or anything like that. All of those things are byproducts of self development, of figuring out who it is you are and who it is you're supposed to be. Once those things come together and your actions reflect the words you speak, and the words you speak reflect the thoughts in your head, when you have a full conscious congruency, then you'll be perfectly aligned to accomplish any and everything in this world.